The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. It is no substitute for professional care by your doctor or your qualified healthcare professional. Never disregard or delay professional medical advice because of something you've heard on this podcast or in any linked material. Guests who speak on this podcast express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions. Dr. Shirley neither endorses nor opposes any particular opinion discussed on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, practice, institution, or other entity with which Dr. Shirley may be affiliated.
Welcome to Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty. This podcast is curated by Dr. Shirley Madeir, MD, as the definitive source of holistic wellness through beauty.
Welcome back to part 2 of the Forever Fab podcast with my fabulous guest, Darice Klein. Darice, you talk about, quote, sitting with the resonance of your actions, the resonance of our actions, end quote. You touched upon that briefly, meaning talking about the impact of your actions on others, but what do you mean by the resonance of our actions?
So the resonance of your actions, how does that ripple out to others, right? How are you touching others with that? And then you can also turn that around and say, sit with the residue of your actions.
Yeah.
Right? Like, those times where you have an interaction, then you have that talk with yourself and you're like, wow, I could have handled that a little bit better. So next time that I'm in a similar situation, I'll do this, right? But sitting with that residue of your actions. So the reason why I don't gossip and why integrity and truth are two of my values is because those words hurt, right? And they create a vibration or like a domino effect with other people.
Yes.
And our actions do that when you're maybe snippy with someone or you come in with, a little bit of an attitude when you don't need to be. How does that make that other person feel? And then you have to do all this other work make it right? Just like when you tell a lie or whatever, you have to do the work to make it right. So I want to simplify things. Just be kind, true, kind, and necessary words, thoughts, and actions as well,
And that's really hard to do on a day-to-day basis, especially if you're dealing with so many different types of people, or if you're in an office with 150 people and, someone just does something that ticks you off. And I don't think you're saying, that it's not okay to have a moment, to be like, oh my gosh, it's all about me. This person is just annoying. But you are saying that however you do choose to react or respond, that in that brief moment before the thing comes out of, your mouth or the finger, comes up, think about it just a little bit and think about the resonance or the residue of your actions on that other person. And sometimes making a small shift and maybe the finger doesn't go up, or maybe you don't say that word. You don't call that person an idiot, for example. Sometimes taking a deep breath and giving it a brief little thought can actually shift the whole, course of the rest of the day.
Right. Yeah. And I have these little things that I say when I feel myself getting angered by someone else. I'll say, they must be hurting so much that they are lashing out at someone else, right? So send them blessings of love and healing. The other one that I use, which someone has asked me to make a sweatshirt for, which is on my list of things to do, is be indifferent to the wicked.
Ooh,
that's kind of harsh. It's kind of harsh, but there's a saying, I'm not sure if it's Buddhist or what it is, but it's be happy for those who are happy. Be there's a second one. It's Be happy for those who are happy. Something, be delighted in the virtuous and be indifferent to the wicked. There's 4 lines. I just can't remember the second one. But that, as soon as I heard that and heard that last line, because I was like, oh, be happy for those who are happy. Yeah. And then when they said be indifferent to the wicked, I was like, what?
Yeah, like
that is amazing.
Yeah,
yes,
I love that one.
Yeah,
we're gonna quote that one.
Yeah. So, and I'm not saying people are, wicked, look like a witch with their, wart on their nose or whatever, mole on their nose. But
But
there are
actions.
yes, like be sweeter. So, yeah.
I like that. I'm going to try to take that on. Be indifferent to the wicked, because there are some times that I just want to, go in verbally like.
Okay, or how about this? Maybe they're not the wicked. Maybe the wicked's trying to get you.
Yeah,
it's trying to get you to say like, "Oh, do you know what you're? Give them a piece of your mind."
Yeah, right.
So it could go for us as well, who's letting that like anger and rage and like. Who are these people to say that? Yeah.
Right. And I think it's also okay to express anger as long as you can do it in a compassionate way. That has been, a work in progress for me. It's totally human. It's normal to be angry at things that anger you. But I do think if we can figure out how to express ourselves and release that energy, but in a compassionate way, not necessarily making an excuse for the other person or for myself, but to do it in a compassionate way to the other person and for yourself. I think there's the rub, right?
Yes.
Now, it seems that based on what we were just talking about, we could all use someone like you. And what are the benefits of working with a transformational mindset mentor? Talk to me about that.
So transformational mindset mentor, I help people who are going through change, who want to improve their well-being, improve their mindset, their mentality around things. And, sometimes when we're going through big changes, we need some help. We need some direction.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm here to help, because I went through a lot of this without a mentor or a coach. I had certain people that I turned to and certain people that happened to just kind of fall into my life.
Yes.
And everything is a teacher. So fortunately, I've had some very, very amazing people fall into my life and guide me through their teachings. So that's what I hope to do for others, to help them, to be their guide through this. And I don't expect people to be with me forever. Like, I want to help you through the thing and show you the tools that you may or may not use, and maybe use something one day and then you kind of outgrow it and put it back in your toolbox. And then eventually maybe you pull it out again, right? Like meditation or prayer or yoga, or maybe even going back and lifting weights for CrossFit, but doing it more mindfully and not abusing my body the way it was because I didn't love myself. Even though I thought I loved myself because I was working out, right?
Yeah,
I was doing the healthy thing. Yeah. So it's so interesting how all these things weave together.
Absolutely.
But yes, that is what I do. And to show people that they can create a life that they don't need to escape from.
Yeah.
So we don't need to numb with all the things. Like, it's okay to face the things that you fear, and it's okay to express emotions, again, in a healthy way. Right. It's okay to grieve, right? Yes. Because we're grieving the person that we were, and we're finding out who we are. Yeah. So helping people uncover who they truly are to live their best life.
That's right, to live their most beautiful life.
Yes.
The caterpillar becomes the butterfly.
Yes.
I love the idea of building a tool shed, right? I love the idea of learning different techniques and putting them in your box and taking them out when you need them. I think that's a lifelong process, or at least it is for me. I really appreciate that. Now, it's also very interesting that you went on the journey of becoming a trauma nurse, right? And yet, even though you didn't necessarily end up in that, lo and behold, you experienced your own version of trauma, emotional, mental, psychological trauma. And now you're helping people with their trauma.
Yes.
In a different way from what you perhaps anticipated when you were in that nursing program. You're right. It's very interesting how things come back full circle.
Everything is so interwoven. And then, working in the hospitals, I'm like, oh, it's kind of interesting that it's called a trauma center because I experienced trauma myself from working in there, so there's trauma for everyone. It's like Oprah's like, and you get trauma and you get trauma.
Yeah, you want a little bit of trauma? We got you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've noticed that little combination before. I'm like, okay, so you went into nursing to help people, but were you really meant for nursing, or were you meant to, guide people through yoga and meditation and mindfulness and be a mentor to them? So, yeah.
The body knows, the mind knows. Now, speaking of all those things that you were doing and are doing, you also are a mother to 2 children, well, teenagers at this point, rather, right?
Yes.
How do you manage motherhood, the transformational mindset coaching, the mentorship, the business, a yoga practice? How do you do all of that?
It is a lot. I'm overwhelmed 99% of the time. As far as being a mother at this point, I had someone a few years ago tell me, your work is done as a mother. And she didn't mean like your work is done. She meant like you don't need to hold their hand at every moment. Like the values from your home are instilled in them. So now it's just a reminder, like when my daughter goes out, I'll say, hey, I love you. Make good choices.
Right.
Stay safe.
Right.
And she came back at me one time and she goes, Mom, I always make good choices. So now I switched that and I said, continue to make good choices. So I feel like my work, you still have to cook and, do the laundry and all the things and make sure everyone gets to where they need to be.
Right.
But I let their life unfold for them. And again, just trust that the values that I've instilled in my home, I wrap them in a little bubble when they go out and just, send them on their way and just pray. Yeah. Because I know from my own experience, the things that my mom told me to never do and my dad, I was like, whatever, I'm going to do it anyway.
That's right.
I found out the hard way many, many, many times. So parenting it's fun. It is challenging. I do get tired. I do have to remain mindful or else, the snippy part comes out. Again, that's part of being human. Not that I want to use that as an excuse, but if we were all super conscious all the time, there would be a bunch of Buddhas walking around, right?
Right. We have nothing to talk about. How
right. Is yes. So yeah, I plan out my days and just do what I can and figure out like what is important, what has to be done today, and prioritize things. And that's how I make everything happen. And I don't rush things. I take my time with creating things and I do what I can. I'm doing the best job I can.
Absolutely. And that seems like the perfect answer, which is also a perfect answer, which segues into the next question. How do you, on a daily basis, again, given all the things that you do, all the wonderful things that you do on a daily basis, how do you personally move from, stress and chaos to, clarity and peace on a daily basis? I think you answered that.
So I have little routines I do throughout the day. I definitely have a morning routine where I usually set my alarm, even though I wake up, as the sun's coming up or as the first birds are chirping.
Yes.
So I'll lay in bed for a few minutes and meditate. Just lay there and breathe and just kind of process the night. If there were any dreams maybe that carried over through the night, and just kind of think about that. And then I get up.
Fall right back asleep. So I have to sit up.
Sometimes it depends how tired I am. I will set another alarm for like 15 minutes later, just in case. Cause I'm always like, what if I do fall asleep?
Yeah.
I never really do though. So then I always get up and either splash my face with cold water or shower immediately. Like I truly believe like we need to get up and care for ourselves and clean ourselves from the night. So that is a big part of my practice. And then I always like to wake up before the kids get up just to have some peace in the house.
Yes.
And just, set the tone for the day. I read from 3 different books right now that are like daily type meditation books.
Yes.
So I'll read those and maybe journal. I try to stay off of my phone for at least the first hour of the day.
Ooh, that's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So no phone during that time. I was actually doing a 195-day meditation with a yoga instructor out of Asheville, and it was on Zoom. And the thing that I despised about that was getting on the computer at 6 a.m. I'm like, this is not what I do.
I know.
So,
it seems like not they think, right?
So about day 175, I was like, I'm done. And I'm like, I made it this close. But I was like, I just can't, like, why am I faking myself? Like the whole time I'm trying to meditate, I'm just like, why am I here? Why am I on my computer? I could, lovely practice. Like if that's your thing, I recommend it, but it didn't do for me. Yes. So then somewhere midday, if I can fit it in, it all depends on where I am. I still work as a nurse on occasion. So if I'm doing that, I definitely can't do this, but I try to do a yoga nidra or an NSDR, non-sleep deep rest.
Oh, wow.
So I try to take the time to do that for about 20 minutes.
Yes.
And then in the evenings, I definitely have like another routine of making some tea, usually some mugwort tea, which helps stimulate the dreams. I put some calm, some magnesium in there.
Yeah.
And no electronics before bed. And I usually fall asleep to a meditation, usually in a yoga nidra, or actually not yoga nidra, but like sleep affirmations.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I try to be asleep by 10 p.m. every night.
Oh, yeah, I fail on that.
Yeah, I cannot stay awake. And if I do, then I'm up for quite a while. So I try to make it to 10 p.m. Yeah. So those are, I just have these routines that I know work for me.
Right.
And I feel off if I don't do them. So that's how I care for myself. And every day there's some sort of body movement. If I don't have time for an hour-long class, then I can get on my mat for 10, 15, 20 minutes. There are numerous options for yoga offerings for free, even online. Yeah. So I utilize a lot of those. Yeah. But yeah, body movement is huge, because if we stop doing that, then we start freezing up. Yeah,
it's true. It sounds like a pretty robust wellness routine. I like it.
Yes.
Now, do you believe in the energy of crystals? If so, what's your favorite crystal and why? And if not, why not?
I have crystals. I do not know a lot about them because there are so many different avenues of yoga that I just don't have the space up here in this brain for crystals right now. But I do have them, and I collect them when I travel. So I do have them, and I take care of them. I try to clean them and put them out when the moon is full, right? That's when you put them out. But I missed last night. So
yes, you missed the full moon.
Yes. Well, we couldn't see it here because the hurricane.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, thankfully that was de-escalated, right?
Yes. Yes. But it was cloudy the whole time. And I'm like, I'm going to miss the blue moon.
That's all right. Now, you know how people talk about, riches at the end of the rainbow and whatever. What's at the end of your rainbow?
What is at the end of my rainbow?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Thank
That
you.
has me stumped.
I know. I've never asked that one before. I kind of like it.
You know what my first answer was?
Yeah. Just what came to you?
Love.
Oh,
because
perfect.
I feel like what's holding me back from the riches that I seek is fear.
Ooh.
So the opposite of that is love.
There you go.
Yeah.
There it is. First
So
time question. Great answer.
What's in your pot of gold?
Yeah, what's at the, it's so funny.
Yes.
Like I create these questions and like I never bother to answer them for myself. But since you asked me, I'm going to give it some thought. What is at the end of my rainbow? Boy, the first thing that came to me was just freedom, liberation, freedom from so many of the, the have to do's and ought to do's and should do's. I've got a lot of that in my life. So I think at the end of my rainbow is just that feeling, not necessarily not having the to-dos because it's fine. So the feeling of levity and lightness of, yeah, sure, I have to do that, but hey, I'm still, free to do whatever it is that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Thank you for letting me put you on the spot.
No problem. You created an entire tribe of people who follow you and work with you. What do you think is the one thing they would say about you that they're all in agreement about?
That's another tough question.
Oh God, I'm good at this.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like would it say, oh, she's tough, but she gets through? Or would it be, oh my gosh, she really digs in? Or, oh my gosh, I cry with her every time I talk to her.
So I have been called direct.
Love it.
A number of times because, I just don't believe I believe in being kind, but like sugarcoating things, like just tell me what you're trying to say. Like I don't have time. Like just tell me. But I do believe people would say that I'm generous.
Wonderful.
Generous and and authentic, raw. Like I do not hesitate crying in front of people, like hundreds of people, and I'm like crying over someone, whatever they said, what it's about is the connection, because a lot of times when you go through these traumatic events, you feel so alone. And just knowing that sharing something from a teacher mentor standpoint and knowing that other people are going through the same thing, like that's a pretty powerful connection.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. And when you help people, lots of people talk about being able to manifest your dreams and manifest your desires. Is like, how do you coach people about doing that? Like, people say, oh, I dream of this, or I really wish I could do that. How do you coach people to manifest what it is that they truly want?
So it's my belief that anything you put out in the universe is listening. Yeah. Anything. So be mindful of what you're putting out there. And even just a little glimpse of something, like one time I was in the restroom at Capitol Grill, right? Yeah. Nice steakhouse. I'm in the restroom and some girl is taking pictures of these heels that she has. All right. Okay. I don't know. They're red bottoms. So whatever. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Those.
Red bottoms. Yes. And I was like, oh, wow, that would be like really cool to have someone get me a pair of these shoes. Yeah. And that was the end of that thought, right? I was like, oh, must be nice. Some guy bought her something. I can't even like find a guy to buy me dinner, right? Like, So
because you make your own.
yeah, I'm cooking my own. So so it's just like this passing thought. So fast forward maybe 2 years later,
Yes.
I meet someone, go out on a date. We have a fabulous time, just lunch, right? He had to go back to work, no big deal.
Right.
Second date, he shows up at my house
Yes.
with a pair of those shoes.
What?
Like, I cannot make this up.
You
I
can't.
have them in my closet and I don't like, they've never been worn because I'm like, where am I going to wear these?
Right.
Anyway, he and I we're friends now. Like, he's like, no, keep the shoes. They were a gift. And I'm like, I feel bad though. Like,
oh my God.
Anyway, so I was like, holy moly, like at all times, the universe is listening. The universe is listening.
Yeah, words are powerful.
Yes, yes. So Don Miguel Ruiz says in the 4 agreements, he says, your words are like magic. They can cast spells.
Yes.
And absolutely they can. Absolutely they can. So that's why it's important to get up and look at yourself. This is a Mel Robbins thing. Get up, look at yourself in the mirror, tell yourself how much you love yourself, how beautiful you are. You know, all the things that you desire to be, you are, it's in there. And you just have to remind yourself of that.
Very true.
Yeah.
Well spoken, Darice.
Yes.
And when you come to a challenge or something that you find difficult, how do you maneuver yourself out of it? How do you get through difficult times and get back to a place and space of positivity, which is challenging?
When I notice that I'm in a difficult space, it all depends on the feeling of it. Sometimes I do withdraw and just give myself time. And sometimes that time is like a couple days. Other times I turn to friends.
Yes.
Usually meeting up with friends and like going to a yoga practice and having some tea helps a lot. I, of course, go to therapy. Now, when I'm with my friends, I try not to bring the energy down. So if they're like, hey, how are you? I'm like, oh, things are okay. Really, what's going on? Oh, well, just this little thing with whoever. But I don't want to give the power of us coming together to that thing. Like, I don't want that dragging us down. Right. Like, we have taken the time is currency. We've taken the time to meet each other. So what kind of energy do I want to bring into that space? So really I try not to unload on my friends too much. That's why I call my therapist the gossip doctor. Because I would just I just tell her everything and she nods.
And it goes nowhere. So it's brilliant.
Yeah, but it's also amazing, like her facial expressions sometimes. Like yesterday I was telling her this story and she's like, oh, and she's shaking her head, no, like, you didn't do that, did you? And I'm like, but I didn't do that. And I could see her like, just kind of like, oh, I'm so glad you didn't do that. Yeah. And I was laughing. I'm like, does she realize that like I can see her? Like I can see her face. Yeah.
You're not supposed to have those.
So funny, I love it. But yeah, that's one of my things is try to, keep it light. We're all going through things. Like I am more than willing to sit and listen to someone, but just personally, it's not how I want to roll. So.
Right. And of all the tools you have in that special toolbox of yours, what would you say is your favorite, most go-to spiritual tool?
Probably the easiest one is meditation.
Yeah.
Because you can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
If you need a second, you can go to the bathroom and just like be in there by yourself and just breathe. Right. We have, and this is another lesson that someone has kind of drilled into my head. We have everything that we need in us. Yeah. So those tools, that tool of meditation and breath work, it is always with us. The tool of mindset, it's always with us.
And the meditation
choices.
doesn't have to be 20 minutes, right? Because some people say, oh, 20 minutes, twice a day. It's like, oh my gosh, that seems so like daunting.
No. You can reset your attitude in 16 seconds.
Yeah.
With your breath. You inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds.
That's awesome.
16 seconds.
Who knew?
Yeah.
I also read someplace where, you should wake up. Well, it'd be nice to wake up every morning, take 3 deep breaths, and after the 3rd deep breath, just smile. And that is right. And I thought that was really kind of cute. So I tried that, and something does shift. It's like they take 3 deep cleansing breaths, and at the end of the 3rd breath, just smile for no reason.
So you know what's going on with those 3 deep cleansing breaths? You're clearing out the stagnant air and energy that's in your body from overnight.
Yes, from the bad dreams, the nightmares, or whoever you're sleeping next to, all that.
Yes. Yes. Or what's left over from the day before.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're clearing out all that. And then the smile. Yeah. And then think you're like building, you won't need those injections, right? Like,
well, I don't know about that. Come on.
Oh, wait. Yes. No, but yeah, that I might have to add that to my little wheelhouse. Cause I mean, again, how long does that take? 3 deep inhales and exhales and a smile. Boom.
Yeah.
Feet hit the floor. You're ready to go.
Ready to go.
Another big practice that I will not go without is tongue scraping.
Really?
Yes.
Talk
it
to
is
me
a
about
game
that.
changer.
Why? So nobody would consider that like spiritually helpful. So that's like a dentist thing. So what?
Yes.
Tell me.
Okay, so this is how it was explained to me, and this is like super elementary. But so at night, there are these garbage guys that come on our tongue, and they bag up all the like gunk on our tongue.
Yeah.
So if we get up in the morning and we scrape that off with a stainless steel tongue scraper, don't use copper, stainless steel. Scrape that off, then we brush our teeth, rinse with mouthwash. That stuff goes out, right? If we don't do that, it goes back into our gut.
Interesting.
And it stays there, and then the cycle just continues. So I have noticed that my gut health is a lot better since starting that. And I started that in 2018.
I'm going to try it. Why not?
And I can tell, like, if I have a lot of dairy, the coating on my tongue is different. Like you can tell by different things that you're doing what's on your tongue.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then there are different taste buds for different tastes. I mean, the tongue is actually not a super strong muscle, but it's complex. It's got stuff.
Yes.
There's stuff going on.
Yeah. The tongue scraping it's amazing.
Okay. I'm going to write that down.
Try
okay.
that.
So that's one tool. That's a physical tool, a tongue scraper. Yes. What about your beauty cabinet? What is your beauty routine, and what are some of your favorite beauty tools?
So my beauty routine is pretty simple.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the only probably complex thing I do is cold shower, cold rinse in the morning.
Okay.
I was not a fan of that, but it does help with your skin, right? Yes, hair health. Yes. So I always shun that as well. And then I kept hearing Dr. Huberman, right? Huberman Lab podcast, kept mentioning that. And then everyone else on different podcasts were mentioning it. And I'm like, there must be something to that. So I started doing that. And that's another thing I can't go without. So I feel like that does give me more, like it wakes me, it gives me more vitality. I don't know that I've noticed a change in my skin, but in my hair, I feel like there's a change.
There's a change.
As far as like facial beauty goes, I, just make sure to wash my face in the morning, always wash my face at night, which was, not normally a routine of mine.
Right.
I don't use any, outstanding products. Like I'm an Aveda girl for cleanser.
Oh, good.
Works for me. Whatever doesn't break my face out, I'm like, yes, I love it. And I do feel like something that is, maybe not so easy for people to change, but it is very detrimental to your skin health. Mm-hmm. 2 things: sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Alcohol.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, it's true.
Eliminate the alcohol, get more sleep, and I feel like your skin is going to improve. Your skin health is going to improve. You're going to have a brightness about you.
And interestingly, if you stop the alcohol, your sleep improves too. Bonus.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Probably about 3 years ago, I was looking at things in my life that were not serving me. Like, what do I do in my life that is not helping me become the person I want to be?
Yes.
And alcohol was like the number one thing on there.
Isn't that something?
So, yeah. So I'll drink occasionally, but nothing like, the wine mom culture.
Right.
So.
Unbelievable. I can't believe this is the last question. What a lovely time we've had together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the last question is traditionally the Fab 5. What, Ms. Darice Klein, are your top 5 recommendations for living a beautiful life?
Yes.
I'm
so
ready.
Number 1,
yes.
I have keep it simple. Like, we overcomplicate things so much.
Yes.
So my beauty routine is simple, right? But I do believe in quality, right? Quality over quantity. So keep it simple.
Yes. Number 2.
Number 2, know yourself. Be rooted in your values.
Yes, I love that.
Right? It keeps the resonance and reduces the residue of our actions.
Yes.
Number 3, experiences over possessions.
Ooh.
I've had so many more beautiful experiences that have taken my breath away, even just like interactions with people, like the kind that bring tears to your eyes.
Yes.
There is not one single possession I can think of that has done that same thing for me.
Not even for 1 minute.
No. Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Okay.
There's things that I adore that I'm like, oh, I would be, sad if this thing went away, but no. Yeah.
Experiences. Got it.
Yep. Experiences over possessions. Number 4, be kind and be of service to others. It doesn't take much to be kind, y'all. Like, say hi to the cashier. How's your day going?
Yes.
Oh, it's not going great. Well, I hope it gets better.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Not like what happened, because then you'd be standing at the register for hours.
Exactly.
Then you would have to start charging for that.
Yeah, but be kind. Let the person in that's merging, even if it's the jerk that like flew up in the turn lane and is trying to merge into the traffic, right? Just be kind. Like, maybe they have something big going on. Right. Be indifferent to the wicked. Right. and number 5, forgive yourself and forgive others. But again, I can't really tell you how to do it. You have to, it just happens. You have to like figure it out. And that's why this work is so hard, because it's not like if there was a manual. Right? Yeah. But there's not.
Read it and forget about it and reread it.
Yes.
Oh my God, Darice, thank you for your Fab 5. And thank you so very, very much for your time today, your light, the presence of your light, for your positive energy and your healing words. It was such a pleasure and an honor to speak with you today on the Forever Fab podcast. I hope you come back.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Shirley, for having me. And I appreciate all your work that you do as well. So thank you.
Thank you. This brings us to the close of this week's episode of the Forever Fab podcast with my transformative guest, Darice Klein. Do you want to move from chaos and stress to clarity and direction? Visit DariceKlein.com or email Darice@DariceKlein.com. Also, follow Darice on Instagram with the handle @Darice Klein, and download the Insight Timer to listen and learn how to meditate and also to hear Darice's story. Thank you for listening to this week's Forever Fab podcast episode. Until next time, as always, stay beautiful and fabulous inside and out.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty, curated by Dr. Shirley Madeir, MD. Live beautifully and help make the world a more beautiful place.